Okay, dear Venerable Sister, dear Dhamma friends, we have come to the first Dhamma sermon in this Kalalgoda English Medium Retreat. May you give your consent by saying Sadhu Sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Atitang nan vagameya nappatikanke anagatang. Yadatitang pahinang tang appattanca anagatang. Paccupannanca yo dhammang tatta tatta vipassati. Asanghirang asankuppang tang vidva manubruhayeti. Dear Venerable Sister, dear Dhamma friends, we have taken a particular sutta as the topic of this Kalalgoda English Medium Retreat, and that sutta is available in Majjhima Nikaya. Actually, the same theme is discussed in 4 consecutive suttas. It's in a way, it's a somewhat unlikely matter where the same thing, same point has explained in several suttas, and those are organized one after the other. So that indicates in a way the importance of this subject. And that sutta is called Bhaddekaratta Sutta, one of the very interesting sutta. And if we come to the third sutta, that is called Mahakaccana Bhaddekaratta Sutta, and the story behind the sutta is also very interesting. In one occasion, Buddha was residing at Rajagaha. At that time, they were close by to the hot springs. It's called the Tapodharama, where there's a hot spring around, and then there's a vihara, there's a shrine or monastery. And using that dwelling place, Buddha and the Sangha was living. At that time, one venerable called Venerable Samiddhi has gone to have a bath, have a wash in the early morning in one of the hot spring. At that time, one of the deity has come, and he is asking several questions from this Venerable Samiddhi. So this may be a female deity. So she has come and asking several questions from Venerable Samiddhi. And she is asking whether do you know the summary and the exposition of Bhaddekaratta. And Venerable Samiddhi honestly say, no, I don't know. Then she asks whether you know the verses of Bhaddekaratta. Again Venerable Samiddhi says, no, I still don't know. And actually Venerable Samiddhi counter question this deity also whether you know about it. Then the deity says, no, I also don't know. And then she informs or advises Venerable Samiddhi, telling, please go and learn this Bhaddekaratta, the summary and the exposition of these verses, and that is extremely important to your bhikkhu life, your monk's life. And then she go away. And Venerable Samiddhi got this advice, and now he is somewhat curious about these verses. And then he approached Buddha. And he explained what has happened. So he has gone to the hot springs early morning, and then there's a female deity approach him. And then she is asking whether he know the summary and the exposition of this Bhaddekaratta. And all this whole story he explained to Buddha. And then he invites Buddha to teach him Bhaddekaratta. Then Buddha also didn't go to detail. He simply says several verses. That is the very much the summary of the Bhaddekaratta. Simply the verses, 4 verses almost. And then simply telling those 4 verses, Buddha get up and went away. Now Venerable Samiddhi is in another problem where the deity also didn't know, but she urges Venerable Samiddhi to know the verses and even the summary, the exposition, the detail. And she urges that these are extremely important. And once come and ask from the Buddha, Buddha simply mentioned the 4 verses and then he went away without explaining it in detail. Now there were several other bhikkhus among the audience, and all were now in a puzzle where they don't really understand what this really means. Now there is one arahant called Mahakaccana. She is renowned for giving or explaining any particular subject which Buddha has mentioned briefly. So there's a skill in this Mahakaccana Thero, the arahant, where he has a certain skill that when someone coming and asking a brief question or asking a brief thing, then he is able to explain it in detail. Now all these monks approach Venerable Mahakaccana and they are asking to explain this Bhaddekaratta Sutta or Bhaddekaratta verses. Then he is simply refusing, telling when Buddha was there, you should have asked from the Buddha. When the Buddha is available, he is the teacher, he is the master, and he is the one who knows the Dhamma. And you are coming to me when the hardwood is available. Now you are like trying to find the hardwood in the branches. It's very much like that. So he refused. Then again the other monks plead, please tell us this verses, the meaning, the exposition, because you are being praised by the Buddha, telling that you are one of the greatest disciple who has a extraordinary capability, skill to explain something which Buddha has mentioned in brief. So due to this pleading, due to this repeated request, then Venerable Mahakaccana starts to explain these verses. So the first verse is very much involved with all verses are very much involved with our practice. Particularly the first verse is fairly interesting even for beginners. What it says is Atitan nan vagameya nappati kanke anagatam. So typically we simply tell, so don't go behind the past and don't follow the future thoughts, planning. So that is what mentioned here very much. Atitan nan vagameya. Don't follow the past. So this is now explained by Venerable Mahakaccana what is really Atitan nan vagameya, or how one does not follow the past. He first takes how one follows the past. Now there are certain incidents has happened in the past which are very interesting, and therefore we like to recall them, and we like even to relish them, and we very much like we are reliving in those past memories. And you all are, elders, and you have your, say for example, your childhood, you have your teenage life, and you have your, say, some occupied status, and all these states some of us have passed, and sometimes there are really interesting incidents have happened in the past. So we as adults or as even some elderly people, still we like to relish in these past memories. So Buddha says, or rather this Venerable Mahakaccana says, so when someone relishes this past, or when someone really enjoys this past memory, that is how one is being dragged by the past. So that is how one is following the past. So sometimes we can think about the past in a beneficial way. Say something has happened in the past, you can recall the past. So that is not the real avoiding of thinking or avoiding of the past. Actually, we can get the benefit of the past. We can think about the history. We can learn from the past. That is possible. But what is in a way not beneficial is something that we are relishing the past, or something we are reliving the past, where we are get lost in those past memories. So that is the Atitan Anvagameti. Now the advice is atitang nanvagamiti. So don't relish in the past. So don't dwell in the past thoughts related to the past. So don't relive your past experiences, even though they might be really interesting. And it's not only the interesting past incidents, there may be really dramatic experiences. There may be some disturbing experiences, but unfortunately, we again and again take those to our memory, taken from the memory, and again we are reliving them. Again and again, sometimes we are hurting ourselves. And our mind has a tendency to live in the past, to take these past memories, and again we are hurting ourselves. Sometimes we understand that these are really harmful. I get depressed by thinking again and again about these past incidents, but still we can't stop that. So such events are there in our lives. So likewise, there may be interesting incidents as well as some hurtful incidents, but still we tend to live in those past memories. So that is something called anvagameti. So that is something we should have to stop as much as possible. Now, why? Buddha says, yadatitang pahinantang. Because the past has gone. It has finished. So you can't correct it right now. You can learn the lesson, that's it. But you can't go back to the past and correct it. And again, it is useless because again and again, if we are reliving this past, even though it appears like a kind of an innocent activity, we are accumulating karma. So that is the gravity of this activity. Even though we think it's a nothing and we are simply thinking, we are simply allowing the mind to think about some past incident, but unfortunately, it has a karmic gravity. So suppose someone has blamed you, someone has betrayed you, but still again and again hurting yourself, you are thinking about it. Instead has already happened, but we are making new karma. Again and again we are making new karma. So that is really harmful to ourselves. In a way, disadvantageous to ourselves. And then the next advice is nappati kanke anagatang. So there may be some future plans that we like to live in a particular way. We like to live in a beautiful house. We like to live joyfully with another person. We like to live with our children in a really nice way, in a comfortable mansion, whatever it is. So we really like to think about such thing. Even though sometimes we may be in a really poor situation, still we like to think that we are getting a fortune situation, we get the first prize of the lottery, maybe. So likewise, we can imagine various things and we like to make mansions in our dreams. So we can enjoy that. So that is how we've been driven to the future. So advice is why we should not do that. Appattanchanagatang, it hasn't come yet. So we are very much like hypothetically we are doing something, imaginary situation, but that too has a karmic gravity. That is the bad thing. So suppose you are daydreaming, you are fantasizing, and all these things appear like very innocent, entirely related to the mind, but still it has a karmic gravity. Still it generates karma. So advice is therefore, nappati kanke anagatan, don't go and live in the future. So then where to live? Paccupannanchayo dhammang tatta vipassati. So that is one of the key teaching of the Buddha, where the present, not only the time factor here, but each and every moment, all these things are happening due to causes. This term Paccuppanna has a more deeper meaning than simply the present. Simply present indicates that's only a kind of a, say, momentary experience. It is true that it happens as a moment. It is true. But how the moment happens, it is due to causes. There are causal combinations. There are causes and conditions coming together in a given moment. As a result, something arises. And then those become causes to the next moment. So likewise, we are having momentary experience then and there. Each moment are kind of a causal reaction, kind of a causal coming together. So it has a really deeper meaning. That's why we have to avoid being in the past and not daydreaming about the future, and trying to live in the present moment. And not only that, we have to see how the causes are happening. We have to see how the conditions are forming the situation. Conditions are making the present moment. Conditions are making the present situation, present state. So this is very much the vipassana practice. Say for example, you are doing walking meditation. So your left foot is touching the ground. It's a very simple experience. So this touching causes feeling. So this touching causes some kind of a perception. And this touching might cause some kind of a thought even in the mind. Say for example, you are walking on the tile ground and the foot has touched the ground and you feel kind of a comfortable feeling. Say it's a happy feeling. Then you perceive, okay, it's maybe somewhat soft, it's really beautiful, it's very soft, it's a nice tile floor. So likewise, there's a kind of a perception in the mind. Accordingly, there may be certain thoughts started to generate. Even that is possible. So all these, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, perception, the feeling, perception and the formations, even the intentions, all these are generated due to the contact, the passa. Even though it appears like very simple activity, there are deeper truths behind that. Passa pacca vedana, passa pacca sanya, passa pacca sankhara. In that sense. Putto bhikkave vedeti, putto sanjanati, putto bhikkave ceteti. So Buddha mentions very clearly, monks, because of the contact, the feeling arises. Because of the contact, the perception arises. Because of the contact, formations or the intentions arises, volition arises. So likewise, the present experience is completely causal. Present experience happens due to causes. Causes are coming together, as a result something forms, something arises. Paccupannancayo dhammang tata tatta vipassati. So say one is doing some Vedananupassana. So you have a fairly concentrated mind. You are aiming that concentrated mind to a particular location where the feeling is arising. And now you are observing that particular feeling. Probably you can try to recognize how this feeling is arising. It is not merely in a drowsy manner you are observing the feeling. So we should have some sort of a curiosity to search, to investigate what is really happening in a very quiet mind, with a very quiet mind. It is not that we are rationally thinking. It is not that we are trying to analyze it with our book, with our past knowledge. Rather, with a very quiet mind, with a very balanced mind, but with a focused mind, and again, kind of with an inquiring mind. We are trying to analyze what is really going on in this feeling. So it may appear arising, and then it is changing to something else. The intensity of the feeling may change, and it might even divide into several feelings. It appears like one feeling at the beginning, but as you observe closely, It might not be single feeling. It may be several feelings. And when they are operating together, the cumulative result, we feel like one feeling. So it's difficult to perceive at the very beginning that there are only there are several feelings, but as a result of our continuous and meticulous observation, we would be able to recognize there are several feelings, and they are also arising due to causes. So there are some deep truths behind these observations. So Buddha is giving a very beautiful simile that when a rain drops on a reservoir, there's a water bubble comes and bursts. When another raindrop drops onto water, then again a water bubble generated and then burst. Assume it is happening very rapidly. Then there are so many water bubbles then and there arising, burst and pass away. Very much the simile for feeling. Vedana bubbulupama. So if we are closely looking at the feeling, how they are generating, how they are changing, how it is divided into several feelings, likewise. So there could be some alignment, there could be some parallelism with this simile and the real experience. So likewise, we are able to recognize this present moment in a different angle. In a perspective where we are trying to recognize, we are trying to understand what's really going on. There is no personal involvement here. Rather, in a kind of objectively, we are looking at the experience. So if we don't have that perception, that kind of attitude, then we always think, I am happy. I am going through some happiness. Oh, I am going through some bad experience. I am suffering. Every time we are attributing it to a person, every time we are taking it personally, we are identifying with this experience. But if we are experiencing, or if we are looking at it in an objective manner, then there are causal reactions. Or there are causes coming together, and as a result something arising. So likewise you can go to a different way of looking at things. Asanghirang asankuppang tang vidvamanu bruhe. Now Buddha is taking us further. Now suppose one is observing this situation again and again. So if he is observing this for a long time, then he understands. So this is extremely impermanent. You can't hold it. And it's very transient. Things are coming and then disappearing. Things are forming, things are causing, but these causes are extremely impermanent. So how the impermanent causes generate a permanent result? It's impossible. Because if the causes are impermanent, if the causes are fragile, then the result also has to be fragile. The result also has to be impermanent. Therefore, when we are recognizing the causes, and if we are able to recognize the causes are impermanent, causes are very transient, and again we will be able to understand even the results are transient, results are impermanent. So now our perspective change. Now we don't consider this as me. Now we don't consider this as something under my control. This is I am. So now we understand these are extremely impermanent, very transient. And again subject to the same experience. Again and again these are things are arising, changing, passing away. So it's very unsatisfactory. You can't find lasting happiness through this kind of an experience. And this is not only for painful experience or painful feeling, rather it is even common, even valid for happy feeling. Happy feeling also arises in the same pattern. There are certain causes, certain contact, which is making the happy feeling, and those contacts are impermanent. Therefore, the happy feelings are also impermanent, and you can't maintain them. You can't hold them for a long time, even though you like them. So we are trying to hold something which is extremely vulnerable, and ultimately we get unhappy. So therefore it is said, the happy feelings are really happy when they are available or when they are lasting, when they exist. And when they start to disappear, they become the otherwise. They become very much unhappy. So likewise, every experience, every observation, we can look at in that attitude. How things are happening, what are the causes, and how these causes are also impermanent, and again, how the generated results are also impermanent. If one is looking at like this, so one's desire to this process, one's desire to this experience reduces. One may not really grasp such experience as me. One may not grasp this experience as mine. So now some sort of a dispassion arises in our mind. So there's a kind of a distance arising within the observing mind and the real experience. So now it's very much like distant experience. Previously we are observing them very closely and it is necessary. But due to this close examination, now there's a dispassion arise in the mind. This is not something that we can create artificially. You can't make this kind of a distance merely by listening. So this is a kind of a change happens in the mind due to continuous observation. Again and again you are doing it. Bhavita bahuli kata. But what you observe is really some sort of an impermanent situation, very unsatisfactory situation, and non-governable situation. And as a result, the dispassion arises. Now, more and more this dispassion arises, mind starts to let go. Mind now simply let go, and slowly, mind starts to find his own kind of a independence. Now, one can be mindful without grasping anything, without holding anything. So this is in a way the one of the key state of vipassana, or some kind of a turning point in vipassana, where you are coming to a unattached state of mind, where there are no grasping objects, but still you are very alert. Still you are in a very awake situation. You are fully mindful. And Buddha tells, Tang vidva manubruhe. The wise person knowing this state, and he uses that to progress. So this is not the end. So one finds some kind of a refuge for one's practice, and he firmly tries to establish in that state. And he uses that to further improve oneself. And there's a beautiful balance mentioned pertaining to this state. That is what given as asanghirang asankuppang. So this explained by Venerable Mahakaccana, asanghirang. So he asks, what is sanghirati? So when our mind go and grasp something, if something is beautiful, when something has something to entertain, so there's a mind, there's a consciousness, if we are coming to the proper terms, there's a consciousness which is arising attached to that experience. Yanchauso chakkung yecha rupa ubhemetang pachuppannang. Tasminche pachuppanne chandaraga patipaddang hoti viññānam. So that is how he is explaining. So there may be, now this explanation I have mentioned only related to the eye. So there may be form, there may be eye, and both are happening due to causes. Pachuppannam. It is not related in the past, not in the future, but due to causes, the eye arise, due to causes, the form arise. Tasminche pachuppanne chandaraga patipaddang hoti viññānam. Now in this experience in this I or in this form, now the consciousness go and grasp, consciousness go and entangled. And now this consciousness is something delightful. And that is become how we being dragged to that experience. So sanghirati means we are being dragged. We are being pulled by the experience. Tang abhinandati, that means we are enjoying that. We are grasping that experience. Or we have some kind of a joy because of this entanglement, involvement. As a result, we are being dragged to that experience. And the opposite is also there. That is the kuppati. That is where you become somewhat resentful, where you are losing the balance, and there may be experience your mind turns back. So again, you turns away, kuppati. So now you are coming to a state, asanghirang asankuppang. Now this is the term mentioned by the Buddha in this Bhaddekaratta Sutta. So one is not being dragged. And again, one is not being repelled. So where are the mind then? So mind is not being dragged. And again, it is not being repelled. So this is a beautiful balance. So it is not very much established any place. So if it is established in any particular place, so that means it has selected that particular thing. Says your child is very beautiful. Okay, is in a charming situation. Now immediately our mind go and grabs that situation, that image. And we are being driven to that. We are being dragged to that. So we are established there. Our consciousness established there. On the other hand, maybe your neighbor is really talkative. You don't like him. So when he is coming in front of you, so you want to turn away. So now you are going to repel from that experience. Now we are drifting from this to that. Every time we are either being dragged to some experience or we are being repelled from another experience. So we are being shifting to these two extremes again and again. It's like a pendulum, either to this side or to that side. Never in the middle. Every time we are shifting from this end to the that end, this end to the that end. So Buddha says, asanghirang asankuppang. Not being dragged and again not being repelled. So this is a beautiful balance. So this is further explained in several suttas. In one occasion, one of the different follower, that's a female follower of another ascetic, met Venerable Ananda, and she's asking a very deeper question. And in that question, there are two terms which is related to this question, related to this situation. The other term used is na abhinato na apanato. Abhinata means being established inside. You are turning inside. So sometimes we appreciate the introvert characteristics. So we always come to ourselves. We establish in ourselves. So that is necessary in the beginning because our minds are extrovert. So we always find fault with others. We are always living in others' eyes. We are always looking at outside. Now the Kayanupassana helps us to come back to ourselves. Vedananupassana helps us to come back to ourselves. Chittanupassana helps us to come back to ourselves. So now we become somewhat introvert. Okay, I am looking at myself. So I am always looking after my mind. Okay, I am always living with the body. Good. But as a result of this practice, Buddha does not stop us at that state. In the Kayanupassana, each and every kamatahan, each and every stage, Buddha taking us further. Say Anapanasati, So you are well established in breath. Each in-breath you are being mindful. Each out-breath you are being mindful. So in the beginning, we are well established inside. But as a result of continuous practice, what happens to the mind? Ultimately, Buddha says in Satipatthana, related to the Anapanasati, Anissito ja vihirati. Now the mind comes to a state where mind does not associate breath. So at the beginning, we are using it in a strategic manner. We are using it as a strategy to establish our mindfulness. But we do not have to stop there. But as a result of practice, so our mind now going to a state where it doesn't need even this object to establish. Now mind finds its own kind of a refuge. Mind finds its own kind of a balance. And now it is not introvert. Now it is not established inside even. Na abhinato. This abhinata property has a tendency towards lust. Tendency towards some sort of a desire. Abhinato. So the other side is apanato, where your mind being turned outside. Now you are finding fault in someone else, where the mind being turned. It is turned outside. So whenever you are finding fault with another person, whenever you find something wrong with another person, your mind being established in the outside. Someone has done something. He is not correct. She is not good. So every time our mind being dragged to outside. That is the apanato. Now this balanced state, so there it is explained, na abhinato na apanato, na chabinato na chapanato. So in this particular question, so this female follower of the other ascetics asking, is there any such kind of concentration Buddha has explained? So even the other ascetics have known that Buddha has mentioned this kind of some beautiful balance in the mind. Na chabinato, na chapanato. And she is asking, is there such concentration Buddha has mentioned? So you can compare this question as well as this asanghirang, asankuppang. Asanghirang, so you are being dragged to some experience. So that may be due to craving. Sanghirang. Sanghirang means you are being dragged to some experience, maybe due to lust. On the other hand, kuppati means you are being resented. You are being somewhat changed the position. You have been very much, you have lost your stability. No more stable. So this statement, sanghirati sanguppati and abhinato apanato, has some similarity. On the other hand, asanghirang asankuppang and then na chabinato na chapanato has some similarity. So everywhere, so Buddha is taking us to a very beautiful balance. And this balance being used to further develop the mind. Tang vidva manubruhe. So this state one recognizes and one maintains that, associate that state, and using that state to further develop one's mind. And then the next verse. Ajjeva kiccang atappang ko janya maranang suve. Nahino sangarang tena mahasenena machuna. Ajjeva kiccang atappang. So you must put your effort today. Ko janya maranang suve. Who knows the death happens on tomorrow? Can you have any kind of a bargain with the Mara? That is the next term. Nahino sangarantena. can you have an agreement with him? Mahasenena Machuna, the Mara, the evil one who is coming with his retinue, can you have an agreement with him? He is coming tomorrow, so can you tell my daughter hasn't married yet? So please give me some time. I am ready after her marriage. So likewise, so you can have different future plans. Okay, your son haven't graduated yet, so you are really keen to see him with his clock. As a parent, you are keen to see him as a graduate. So, but the Mara has come. He's inviting you to go with him. So you can't have an agreement. Ajjeva kiccang atappang. So Buddha is telling, so do it today. Ko janya maranang suve. We don't know whether the death happens on tomorrow. So now this verse brings us some kind of an urgency. So it is telling that we are in a kind of a very vulnerable situation. We don't know when things going to happen. So I heard recently that one of our ROs has passed away. So you might have known. So she was actually organizing retreats at Mithirigala and again organizing retreats at Kalalgoda. Now she is no more. She has passed away. Similarly, I can remember not more than just little more than 1 year. So one of our senior monks, so he simply rang the gong in a peculiar situation, and all the monks ran to his kuti, and he's telling that he has some ache. So everybody rushed and then brought him to the ground floor or the lower monastery, and I happened to carry him to the hospital, and there were another monk and the monastery manager, and on the way he passed away. So we didn't expect, and there were no signs, and he actually has gone to hospital day before, and doctors has mentioned nothing to worry, you can go back. No any symptoms that he's having some sort of a heart attack, but the postmortem has mentioned he has passed away by a heart attack. So my own mother, so I have taken her to hospital in the morning, not really to a hospital, some doctor specialist in the morning. So he has prescribed some medicine, and then I took her to home and give some food to her, and just ask, she want to rest, and I just put her on the chair. It may be around 2 p.m. Then I went to have my lunch. I returned back at 2:20. On the way back, when I see her, she has passed away. So this is life. So you can't have any agreement. We don't know when we are going to die. We are in a very vulnerable situation. So we don't feel it till someone close to us pass away sometimes. When someone gets sick who is really close to us, we feel it. When someone really close to us pass away, we feel it. Or we ourselves go through some critical situation, we feel it. So this is the life. So therefore Buddha says, Ajjeva kiccang atappang. So do it today. Ko janya maranang suve. There is no, we don't know the death happens on tomorrow. Nahino sangarang tena mahasenena machuna. And there is no agreement, there is no bargaining with the Mara. And now, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, and sometimes are beneficial. Now, not thinking is not something that that we have to take as an extreme. sometimes thinking about the past is beneficial, and thinking about the future is also beneficial. So, if we have a skill to think what is beneficial and not to think what is beneficial, that is where we are coming to some sort of a mastery. In the mind, we have some mastery. So, this is beautifully mentioned in Vitakka-santhana Sutta. It's mentioned like this. Vasi vitakka pariyapatesu. Yang vitakkang akankissati, tang vitakkang vitakketi. If you want to think about something, you can think about that. Yang vitakkang nakankissati, na tang vitakkang vitakkessati. If you don't want to think about something, you are not thinking about that. Can you do that? So this is what is called mastery in thinking. It is not that our mind being carried away or the thinking is taking us for a ride. Rather, I want to think about something, now I am thinking. If I want to stop it, I can put a full stop. So this is the called mastery. This is called mastery in thinking. So it is not that, sometimes we think, okay, we have to stop thinking. So everyone is saying, stop thinking, it is useless, don't think. It's all proliferation, all papancha, don't think. So we should not take it in a extreme manner, thinking that we have to entirely stop thinking. That is also possible, by the way. It also should be possible. If you are able to have a complete silence in your mind. So that also should be possible. So that is what called avitakka. And avitakka samadhi is the arhat pala samadhi. So there is no thinking, no thoughts, and mind is in utter peace. But on the other hand, say if you want to tell something, if you are preaching something, the thinking may be going on. It may be very subtle thinking, sort of thought generation happens. So you are vitakketva, vicharetva, vacham bindati. So we are applying the mind and you using the observation, or you are doing some kind of an observation, and then how you talk. Even the talking happens with slight thinking. So if we are thinking of some kind of an extreme that we should never think and all, that is also not the proper way of telling it. So therefore Buddha tells, what is vasi vitakka pariyapatesu? Master of thoughts, master of causes of thoughts. So when you want to think, you can think, and when you don't want to think, you can stop thinking. And not only that, achejji tanhan. So there are more skills mentioned, actually explaining about Arahant. Achejji tanhan. He has completely cut off craving. Vavattai sangyojanang. And turn back the fetters. Samma manabi samaya. He has penetrated the conceit. Anta makasi dukkasa. And he has put an end to suffering. So all these things actually indicate kind of a mastery about our mind. So it is not that knowledge is bad, and sometimes we think, okay, we have learned too much and all these things. But this learning, this education and all these things can be usefully make use to our day-to-day activities. But we should have a skill to stop thinking, to keep aside all that knowledge, to keep aside all those signs, to have a mind extremely peaceful. We are a mind which is extremely still. So if we can do that, then we are somewhat in a safe situation. So this sutta therefore is inviting us to that kind of a mastery, where you are able to find out some beautiful balance. You are not being dragged or not being dragged outside or you are not being pulled outside, and you are not being dragged inside, but having some kind of a beautiful balance. The mind is not established at any place. Mind is in a spacious balance. Mind is unentangled. And in that state, one is beautifully progressing further. Asanghirang asankuppang tang vidva manubruhe. Knowing that balance, one is further progressing. So this is how Buddha is explaining this Bhaddekaratta Sutta, and we have to discuss the last verse, so I am keeping it for tomorrow. So thank you very much for joining.